All right, I'm back again, and we're continuing on our journey into joints and assemblies. So, if you remember where we left off, we have now created kind of like our first tier, or actually, technically, I guess our second tier. Our first tier are the individual parts that we've already drawn. We've now created our second tier, which is this joint between these two that defines this component, right? This individual component. So I'm happy with this. I've saved it. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this. Just save it again just to be sure. Remember, this is what we're going for. The goal here is we can get these guys all working together. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new design. Remember, it's not going to let me bring in any existing drawings or components until I've saved this. So we'll do save as, I don't remember what I called this thing, lesson 9, tier 2, and I'll click save there. All right. So here we are with lesson 9, tier 2. So just like before with when I brought in the individual components, now I'm going to go ahead, click my data panel, and we need to find lesson 9 first tier. So here it is. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click insert into current design. So I right clicked on top of lesson 9 first tier, insert into current design. There it is. I'm going to click OK. So you'll note, I'm going to go ahead and close the data panel again. You'll note if I move this, this thing moves around. That stinks. So same thing. I'm going to open this guy up. I'm going to go to bone bar, right click, and click ground. I'm going to capture the position so it is where it is. All right, and now can't move the bone bar, but I can move the DALL-E bar, right? Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to link 3 of these together to start to form a chain of these things that start to operate together with one another. So if you see these guys together are nested under this. This is why I've done this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return that back to that stage, right click on top of this, click copy, and then somewhere out here in space, right click, and I'm going to click paste. Capture the position is fine, and it's going to go ahead and throw in this new version of it. Click OK, and I can grab this, and you'll notice this also has that same joint, but it's not grounded, right? Only this bone bar is grounded. So when I move it, the whole thing moves together. That's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to now start to confine this by adding a few additional joints. So this guy sits on top. I want this bone bar to sit underneath but share this hole, right? These two holes I want to share one another. So I'm going to create a new joint. So we're going to go to joint, capture position. This is going to be a common theme here. Just double check the motion, revolute, that's what we want. Position, I'm going to click select. Again, I want the top circle here, so find that guy, and I want the bottom circle here. And watch, don't freak out when I do this. I'm going to click this and it's going to look like it's pulled that other joint apart. It just does that to kind of show you what's going on. So I'll back up here a little bit so you can see everything. I'm going to click there and it's going to create that joint. And it looks like it pulled that joint away from this, but it didn't. It's just demoing how those things are going to operate to make sure that you're comfortable with that revolute joint. I'm going to click OK. Yep, I'm going to accept that. And you'll see then it moves this other guy down in place. And this is what I'm saying. This is why I want to try to limit behavior here a little bit, because it's now nested these two parts together to one another, and it doesn't realize, Fusion, I say it, Fusion doesn't realize that that's not actually how the physics of my world work, right? So I can start to move this thing around, but this thing has too many degrees of freedom, and I want to start to capture this in a more finite way, right? So now I'm going to create a second joint between this hole here, the bottom of this one, because if we look again, this is now on top, so it's the bottom of this hole and the top of this hole. I'm going to create another revolute joint. So just go back to joint, capture position is fine, come in here, zoom in, I want to find that bottom circle. And this is what I say, sometimes it's hard to get there. And when it's hard to get there, just rotate down. It's much easier to grab it from the bottom. So I want the bottom of that. It's going to move to component 2 for me. I come back up, zoom out, and we want the top of this guy. Blink. And you'll see it looks like, oh no, it destroyed that joint. It's still there. It's just doing that to give me a visual of that singular joint. If it looks good, click OK to accept it. And now this one's still grounded. If I grab this, these guys start to work together, right? So creative physics that make these guys work. So to make this a little bit more fun, let's do that one more time. We'll add that third set here. Same deal. I'm going to come up here, right click, copy, click over in space, right click, paste, capture position. Okay, here it is. I can move it around. We're going to do that same joint. So the top of this to the bottom of this to the top of that. Doesn't matter the order. So I'm going to click joint, capture position, select top of this, bottom of that. There we go. Yep, that's the way I want it. Click OK. Grab you, open you up a little bit. Don't really need to. Joint, capture position, same deal. Bottom of this, top of this. Yep, that's the way I want it to work. Good, excellent. All right. So now I've got these three guys together, and they operate as a system of 3 components, right? These 3 are here. The joints for these individual components are listed, are nested underneath here. So these are the joints that define how these 2 are working together. These are the joints that are defining how all of these 3 things are working together, right? So if I open that up, here's revolution joint 1. It's over here, right? There's 2, which is going to be its mate, right? And then we have 2 more. So those are our 4 joints. All right, so I'm happy with this. Now I'm going to save this again. And I'm going to close this, open a new file, and now we're going to do the big kind of motion all together. So I'm going to save this. Again, you can't open those individual files into this one until this one has a name. So we'll say lesson 9 tier 3. Or actually, we can say let's say lesson 9 system. Save. All right. And then go to my data panel. Now I want that lesson 9 tier 2. Insert into current drawing. There it is. Okay. So there's that. I'm also going to, well, let's just hide that for now. Sure, that position's fine. I need to ground this again. I lost that grounding. So I need to click on this guy. Yep, that's bone bar number 1. So now I need to find it in this this nested list, right? So under here, you can see this highlighting is showing me where this component is. So it's helping me kind of diagnose where I'm going. So I click that, oh, it's this bone bar. Right click on that, click ground, capture position. And now it locks that in place so that the whole system starts to move. I only need to do that with one element for each of these system drawings, okay? All right, so now what I'm gonna do is we'll close this up, right click on top of this, copy, right click, paste, capture position, sure. There's another one. I can move this down and away, click OK. So now I have 2 of these. This one is totally free motion, right? And if I want to start to link these together, now is when I have to figure out kind of where my commonality goes. So for this, I mean, I'm going to just do a simple version of this. I imagine, and I haven't really played with this system, I could tie like the center joint of this with the edge joint of this guy, and you know, center joint of this with the edge joint of this other one, and then it's going to have a different motion. But I'm just going to try to mimic the motion of this in the one below it by tying these things together. Now, I could kind of tie these together like in space, make physics that doesn't look like it should work but does. So I could essentially say like, oh, I want a revolute joint about this circle and this circle, but I want those spaces to be 80 millimeters away or 50 millimeters away. You could absolutely do that, but I want it to actually look like a system, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that dowel file that I have somewhere here. I've got to find it. I think there it is. So I'm going to find that, right click on top of that, insert into current drawing. Did that work? There it is. Oh, Fusion's working hard. Got a lot of complex geometry now. I thought for sure I clicked it. Now we're just waiting. Come on, Fusion, you can do it. Okay. All right, so let's try this. I'm going to close this guy because we're almost there. And let's now try it. Insert into current design. There we go. Okay, I think it just didn't like it because it was open and being referenced by that other system. All right, so there's that dowel. See, I make mistakes too. Okay, so how do we deal with this? This guy also can be a revolute joint. We could make it a cylinder joint, but the problem is I want to be able to keep these guys separated at a set distance. And so I want it to be a revolute joint. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, we just position this anywhere for the time being because it will move when we add the joint to it. Remember, this is my fixed one here. So I'm going to fix it to this one first. And I want my dowel to be right in the middle of these two surfaces. Because I want to be able to potentially add another dowel on top of it and connect the next layer, right? So I'm going to choose this inner circle as the revolute joint to the top of my dowel and the inner circle down here to the bottom of my dowel. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create that joint now. So click joint, capture position. First one is that one, ding, and my second one is this one, ding. Yep, that looks perfectly lovely. Sounds good. Thanks, Fusion. So you'll see now if I zoom in there, we can see the top of that dowel sitting right there. And now I want to move the bottom of the dowel. So this is when you have to start getting good at zooming around and doing all sorts of fun stuff, panning and zooming. Now I'm going to create another joint between the bottom of this dowel and this section. So joint, sure, that's good. Sure, that's good. Yep, yes, it's rotating the round dowel, so it's really hard to see. Click OK, and that locks that guy into place. Now, let's see, I'm just going to go back to my home view. It's a quick way to navigate. You'll notice this does start to work, right? But this is sort of like out of sequence, right? So this is moving, but this one's just rotating. So it has that revolute joint, but I haven't tied it together anywhere else. So I need a minimum of a second tie-in, and really what I want is dowels in all of these things to make this guy work the way I want it to work. So really I'd probably have like 15 dowels, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 dowels. But let's just do a minimum of 2. So same deal, the dowel's already here, right click on top of it, copy, right click in space, paste, capture position, there it is. I can move it over. Okay, and then really I can pick any of these other holes. I'm going to do the next joint up here. That should be all I need to lock it in. I'm going to do this guy here. So add a joint. We're still doing that revolute joint. I'm going to choose the top view, and I'm going to choose the middle view. Yeah, that looks good. Thank you. And then we will rotate around and we'll do one more joint. Create a joint between the bottom of you and that circle in the middle. Yep, that looks good. So that now ties this guy together. If we go back to my home view here, now if I grab any one of these elements, these things start to, oh, I wanted that to be there. I didn't have, oh look, so I didn't capture the motion yet. I need the centers to be connected. Look, I'm learning something about this system just by doing this. All right, so I lied, one more dowel. So right click on the dowel, copy, right click in space, paste. There it is, we'll move it around. Let's move it up so it's closer to where I want it to go. I want it to be up here by this guy. Okay. Yes, I need to constrain those two. All right, joint, capture position. Top of you, yep, middle of you. That looks good. Pretty confident I don't need to see the magic show there. I'm gonna zoom around here. I'm gonna just pull it out of phase here. And then we'll do one more joint. Capture position. We want you guy and you. There it goes, looks so good. Okay, so that now, theoretically, locks this guy in place. So let's try this again. There we go. Now that system is functioning. So I needed dowels at the center points in order to make that system work. So again, you start to learn things as you do this about these how these things work and move. The lovely thing is we don't have to deal with friction, and you can start to apply motors about these axes, so it actually will move on its own, and you can capture that motion. You know, you can create a cam that continues to rotate this thing back and forth. But there you have it. There's our system. Hopefully, you understand how you can start to design a dream machine using individual components that you join together. And that was the whole point of this exercise. Good luck. Let me know how I can help. Look for a video, quick tips video on the different types of joints and an explanation of them. But for now, you should have enough to start to jump in to working on your dream machine project. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.